my favorite baseball stat, man. My son and I actually met this dude a few months back, just randomly at the same airport terminal, waiting on the same flight. Super nice guy. I talked to him for about 15 minutes. Good old Daryl Strawberry, right? So he was flying out of Kansas City. So I don't know if you follow him by any means. I sure don't, but I looked him up. He goes around and gives, inspirational talks to, church communities now. But the stat of his, that's my favorite baseball stat of all time. I forget what year this was, but I remember watching the Sports Center where they said it was he went 10 for 30. And in those 30 at bats, he didn't have a single or a double or a triple. All 10 hits, 10 bombs.
I ain't got time to be playing.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
That was when he was with the Yankees, man. He was just cracking them.
Pinch hitting kind of, yep.
Yeah, 10 for 30, 10 jacks.
There's a guy right there. Like, to me, as a former ball player, I know that steroids really, the only real effect you get from them is recuperation and you look better in your uniform. I hate to disappoint people out there, but that's just really the facts. If you can't play, you're just going to be a buff dude that can't play.
So I'm watching this. This is something that's good to watch. I just started watching it last night. There's just dropped on Netflix, popped up as one of the new releases, is the Arnold Schwarzenegger documentary. Mm-hmm. So I'm through like the first episode and a half. Part of it is an intentional comedy. It's just funny watching the dude.
Hold your thought real quick. Just as a guy that worked out and did your thing in college and some pro ball.
Yeah.
How big did you think Arnold Schwarzenegger was, like height-wise? You watched Commando. You watched...
Probably 6'4".
Okay, go. Oh, shoot.
You got it? I got it. Spilled your squirt?
Caught it.
Oh, okay, right on.
Actually,
so where I'm going with this is he's got a comment in there. He's from Austria. He had these visions when he first realized the bodybuilding community was tied into the entertainment industry. He saw some magazines and saw a movie trailer in Austria and just started dreaming about America. And he just started lifting weights, right? Just started pumping iron, ridiculous religious style, right? There's a comment in that where he started to talk about, hey, when you're at the Mr. Olympia level, you're at the, whatever, these competitions, everybody does steroids. Everybody. You're not up there if you're not doing steroids at this point. This is the 70s and early 80s probably. But he also made the comment, well, it's doctor supervised and it's only 4 months out of the year, which is 33% of the year. So you're doing steroids a third of the time and you're only doing them in the 4 months leading up to a major competition. And he only credited it with 5% of his gains, which didn't add up. But it's also like, look, I get it, man. It's a performance enhancer. Mm-hmm. My guess is if you're doing steroids a third of the year, just psychologically, you just don't want to personally give credit to your gains because you want to take the credit. Hey, look at my work ethic. You might be working hard and so forth. I get it. But you're also doing steroids. Mm-hmm. You got to give it the credit where it's due at least. Wouldn't you as a bodybuilder?
As a bodybuilder. That's that phrase.
As a bodybuilder.
Yeah. That's the one that just says.
There's a lot of credit, man, to quicker recovery times, especially in a daily sport like a baseball. How, man, your hands get tired, the bat feels heavy, your legs are weak. You're on steroids, man, you're fresh. Those days where you just feel fresh, ready to go. Those are your days. If you're like that more often, you're going to play better, of course.
But yeah, if you can't hit, you can't hit. That I don't care how.
Yeah, you're not going to take steroids and then all of a sudden be a good hitter.
No.
But you're going to add a little bit of pout. Oh, here, that's my lawn care guy. Apparently, I don't even have a lawn care guy. That's my Ryan lawn care coming through. So thanks for interrupting the podcast.
Hey, shout out.
D-bag.
Durable didn't have to do it. Shout out. But
no, this episode brought to you by Ryan Lawn Care.
And Squirt.
And Squirt.
And Squirt. But no, it's it's just one of those things. And I'm a big Barry Bonds fan. I'm a big all those guys.
Love Barry Bonds, man.
At the end of the day, 'cause just like you said, I remember Lyle Alzado. You remember Lyle Alzado from the Raiders? He was like number 77 interior lineman.
No, I don't.
He was one of the guys that came up and came out and said, "Hey, I took steroids."
Okay.
But he said, "I'm not the only one." So I really believe from the
What era did he play?
he was like a late 70s,
Oh,
early
well
80s
then,
guys.
yeah. Then they weren't even testing for it.
They
then.
weren't testing for it. So it's like I just hate the fact that now you're starting to see the politics of it. Like, okay, if he took it and it's against the rules, then it's against the rules, and I love you as a player, but you broke the rules. But now when you're just arbitrarily skipping over guys that broke those same rules, and because they're media, I hate that, man. That just gets on my nerves.
So I'm okay with just, hey, if you got the stats, put them in, and then let the debate behind the scenes take care of itself. Love Barry Bonds, love Mark McGuire, love Sammy Sosa, love those dudes. Okay, probably not the healthiest way to go about it, because when we were playing late '90s, early 2000s, the perception as an aspirational ball player was you just had to be enormous to be considered to go to the next level. Like you had to be huge. You had to lift weights and get as big as possible, which in the sport of baseball is kind of the exception versus the rule. Like you just be fit, be skinny, be speedy, and you don't need to be that big to hit home runs. There's a lot of dudes that have proven that throughout time. You just happen to have all the media attention focused on dudes that were just as big as a house.
That's really who deserves the blame for the steroid era.
Who's that?
The media.
The media?
The media. They deserve the blame because
they want to see the home runs. It brought baseball back out of the strike era.
You double standard, hypocritical sons of bitches. I blame the media on that because
we got caught up in the hype. It was fun. Man, watching Sammy Sosa and Mark McGuire go at it for a season or two, chasing 70. That was a fun time.
Yeah, I could go on and on about that. But again, you get to that point, everybody's looking for an edge. And
yeah, no doubt.
How many I bet you if you were just honest, if we were honest and we knew the honest, true to God numbers, there's not an Olympic athlete, there's not a major level sports player who's not taking something that, if it's not crossing the line, it's right on the edge. Because everybody's looking for just that, the edge. It's like I'm trying to get as good as because that's how they're feeding their families right now, trying to build that generational wealth. Hell, I know some guys that take Viagra.
Looking for that edge.
They hope there's an asterisk.
Asterisk. Good try.
That night.
Good try.
I tried.
Good try, man. I got a did you know for you.
Yes, sir.
All right. So let's find it right here. We did LIDAR. We did the pigs. We did the global country. So artificial intelligence, big in the news lately. Don't know if you followed it. Apparently, it's going to lead to all of the fantastic elements of sci-fi that we've been, accustomed to throughout entertainment the past several decades. But it's also going to be the current, unequivocal demise of our civilization. One aspect that I read about just yesterday is AI can predict your political views based on your looks. So, according to Insider Magazine, researchers in Denmark used deep learning tech, right, facial recognition. They ran about 3,000 images of Danish politicians cropped just to show faces. And then they analyzed those faces through artificial intelligence, and the results predicted were they left wing or right wing. So if you think about, and this is really what the article was about, was the images that are already readily available today on just any basic web search. As an employer, you can Google a candidate that's interviewing, find out what political views they are just by scanning their face and running it through some sort of AI platform, and then make hiring decisions based on that. The thing is, social media already knows your political views or your political leanings based on your likes, your dislikes, what you listen to, and what you watch, right? With like 99% accuracy. So this is just a different way of deciphering what is already behind the scenes and known and has invaded our privacy to a level that most people don't consider. How do you pronounce the two letters on your shirt?
Yeah, yeah. That's the scary part is you hit it on the head earlier in that. Did you know is it's like we're really like somebody's profiting right now on human destruction. And there's no way, like there's no other way around it. Like I get it. I kind of saw it coming, D, when we were in college. And it was nothing simple, but it was a job that I wanted to have because I knew that paid well. And I just noticed it from, we're late 90s, early 2000s down there. But especially coming from California, we didn't have tolls and anything like that. It's just freeway, right?
Okay.
But the toll was a great job in college if you
Irvine,
could get
California, right?
Pasadena.
Pasadena.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, the tolls, they paid like $10, $15 an hour back when we were in school, and they paid you every Friday. So I was always trying to get that job.
Oh, to sit there, take the ticket.
That's
Okay.
great money,
Yep.
money at that time. Not doing much of anything, and I just slowly started to see how it would go from 2 or 3 people in the toll booth to 2 people to one person,
Sure.
and now it's just you press a button,
Yep.
and
Or you just drive through.
You just
and
drive
you get
through.
scanned automatically. Yep.
and it's like all that shit is cool, but that's somebody now who's not making that money. Now I guess the retort could be, well, that's saving you money on your tolls. But is it?
No.
Is it?
No,
Or
no, no,
is
no.
is Mr. CEO now have another house in the?
Have you seen tolls go down at any point?
No.
Oh.
But that's my point. It's like we're that was the first time that was the first time and like really something that I just watched because Marie lived in Wichita.
Sure.
So I'm always hitting the toll, and yeah, it's like, man, we went from 3 people in those boxes. Somebody's making good money to nobody's in there anymore.
Yeah.
And it's
So obviously, technological advance, artificial intelligence is the big wave. I mean, there's going to be displacement of current industries. I think if you look at this is something I learned recently. So you've seen the valuations of the ride sharing products that are Uber and Lyft.
Yeah.
Right. So Uber is valued at how many billions of dollars, and they've never turned a profit. Do you know why people continue to invest in Uber when they get the chance, anytime they have another round? Is because they know as soon as the technology gets to a point where you can eliminate the drivers, then Uber is going to turn a profit.
mm-hmm.
But they've never turned a profit yet, but they still continue to be valued at, I mean, 80 billion, 100 billion. I don't know what the valuation is, but that's the thinking from the investment community is
Right.
as soon as driverless cars are readily available and that technology can be deployed to the ride sharing, then the drivers don't have to be paid, and then the whole economic model inside of the ride sharing flips, and then all of the drivers that are out there enjoying the flexibility of being a contract worker within Uber, then they just don't get any more rides.
Mm-mm.
So
I
truckers, man, driverless trucks, of course, working 24/7. They don't have to pull over and take a nap.
don't have to pay insurance premiums. None of that. So I get it, but it's like at what cost, And it's like some of these civilizations we were talking about before. Like, I mean, you still think about the pyramids in Egypt. I don't care what you talk about, AI technology, what we have now, anything. Nothing looks like it could have built. Nothing that we're dealing with in today's world looks like it could have built those pyramids. So I say that to say this. Is it just history repeating itself? Are we doing the same things that the Egyptians did, the Romans did, the civilization you were talking about earlier, the monkey civilization?
Yeah. So the Olmecs, the Mayans,
All of that. The people in the Sudan supposedly where the lost city of Atlantis is at.
So that's one of the theories, right? There's this dude named Jimmy Corsetti. He's got a whole, I forget the name of his landing page or his whole channel on YouTube, but he's got several episodes dedicated specifically to the Eye of the Sahara.
Mm-hmm.
In it's the northern, like the I'm trying to look at the map behind you. Forget like the northwestern, south of Algeria
Yeah.
in that area. Okay, so there's this geographical anomaly that fits the precise description
Mm-hmm.
that Plato wrote down regarding Atlantis, right? And so Jimmy Corsetti has laid out this argument in, several hours worth of hard to dispute evidence once you watch it. Now it sounds, just someone listening here, was just casually listening through, would say, "Oh man, they're talking about the lost city of Atlantis." Okay, dismissed, right? But if you listen to this dude's arguments, geographical evidence, just all of the different types of cities and maps and the way that the civilization could have been wiped out in the cataclysms that you
Mm-hmm.
referred to with Graham Hancock. So then I would encourage anybody to go check it out. Jimmy Corsetti is his name. I forget the name of his channel, but if you just Google Jimmy Corsetti Atlantis, it's going to pop up. Um, the the cataclysms at the end of the last ice age in the younger Dryas era, the beginning of that era or the end of that era, I forget what it is. Basically, the amount of water that washed over northern Africa wiped out Atlantis. There were some refugees, of course, not everybody was killed, but then one of the theories is the refugees from Atlantis, which was an advanced civilization, harnessed the vibrations of nature and elements far beyond any technological advancement that we think of or can consider, because it was just a different line of technology that those previous prehistoric civilizations went down. That's the route that they went down. But those refugees, once those cataclysms occurred, are the ones that started Egypt. Those are the ones that migrated over to northern Egypt and found a land that was ready to settle. And so thus maybe those are the ones that built the pyramids. Maybe they went the route that you're saying. This is all cool stuff to read into,
I mean,
rabbit holes to go down.
I'll even piggyback on that. I mean, some of this stuff, like the Bible doesn't refute it. It puts it in the same, because then you're still talking about that region. I mean, you're talking about the Garden of Eden, right? The Garden of Eden is, by most people who are given the credit of being knowledgeable in historic stuff like that, will tell you the Garden of Eden was somewhere over in Africa, or I've heard
I heard it was based.
Iraq.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So
Mesopotamian area.
in that region of the world. And you got to think, if that region of the world, we still Pangea, if we're all to believe Pangea happened, that's all one.
So, yeah, and I'd love to look at the timeline of Pangea and compare that to the ancient, like, how long has humanity actually existed?
Right.
Hundreds of thousands of years, not just 6,000, 10,000
Right.
years ago. Man, I had a point to make and now I forget it, and I hate it when that happens because I'm trying to be a good listener.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like actually listening to what you're talking about as opposed to just acting like I'm listening
Right.
and having my point drilling into my head so I can
Right.
respond. And I totally effing forgot what I was
You'll
going to
remember
say.
it. You'll remember. But no, we were just making the point that like it's all together, and it's all together, and at the end of the day, our togetherness and not wanting to come together as people is going to be a together decision to destroy our own selves.
A together decision. So so it's in our human nature to continue to advance and to continue to improve. When it gets to technology, where you're completely displacing and disrupting the structure of how a society has been built over hundreds, if not thousands of years, and the fact that technological advancement today is so rapid to where the society itself doesn't get a chance to adjust, right? If within 2 years from now, I forget who I was reading this from, but they made a really good point where we have about 2 to 4 years before artificial intelligence completely collapses society.
And scary.
Yeah, 2 to 4 years.
Well, what's the what's the technology right now they're talking about? Oh God, Chat GPT.
Oh yeah, okay.
Okay, I was playing around with that, trying to carve out a letter for marketing purposes.
Hmm.
And I kind of just did my thing. I said, "Hey, looking for something," and it wrote out.
Oh, it's impressive. Yeah.
And it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. We can't have that because now,
If
if I'm CEO Jim Taylor the third and
Yeah.
looking to make some more money, like, well, damn it, I don't need no marketing.
Nope.
I don't need a marketing department.
Well, you don't need anybody to write your press releases, to write your blogs. You know what I'm saying? If you get paid
Right.
on that stuff, you're already losing 70, 80, 90% of your clientele if that was your profession 6 months ago
Right.
when Chat GPT hit the airwaves. I was reading lately, though, if you're in the legal profession, don't, if you're thinking about a career going in, if you're trying to be a lawyer or do something in the legal profession, don't go to school for it. Don't, because it's over.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
entire aspect of education and that entire profession is over. You can type in, have all, where you used to have these clerks go and do all this research and find all these legal theories and try to find the precedent of what occurred. Don't do it, because that's already over. Like that, within just a couple of months,
Yeah.
it's
Like
over.
I don't need I don't need a paralegal anymore.
Yeah, you don't need to go research it. You type it in, you get back, you get your arguments, and you're ready to go. Yeah, we'll see if that actually plays out. But at the same time, man, that's the type of rapid disruption that we're not going to be. I don't think that politically, if we need to make shifts and adjustments on how to educate and where people get displaced and where they land, I don't think we're going to, as a society, be able to make the necessary adjustments and evolve quick enough
Mm-mm.
in order to counter some sort of that's what this dude's point is. We have about 2 to 4 years before the whole thing collapses on itself.
Well, what's again being in freight, man, it's scary. I remember when I first started in freight. The intrigue was to go around the city and see. Oh, okay, they got a big shipping dock. They got a big shipping dock. They got a big dock. Boom, 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 boom. Well, now you go around these same places. Closed, closed,
Hmm.
closed.
Was that COVID related though? I mean, where just the supply chains were disrupted and demand was.
Uh, the internet. I don't need storefronts anymore.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I can pay maybe a warehouse to.
Amazon. Dude, last time, I mean, I got 3 boxes from Amazon BS delivered today over the last couple days of order. You're always shopping.
Yeah, and
So
so
you need something, click. All right,
there's that's your storefront now.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people are looking at their business model, and it's like, do I need to have this? Do I need to have this 15,000 square foot building and house a marketing department? I go Chat GPT. I go, no. I'll run it from my basement. I'll pay a warehouse to fulfill my orders.
So one thing I am very curious to see, and hopefully AI can get there before society itself crumbles and there's far more important priorities to take care of. I would love to see Chat GPT crack the code of animal communication, right?
Oh wow.
Where you can sit there and have a conversation with a dolphin.
Oh wow.
Yo, dolphin, go tell them sharks to stop eating us, so we don't be
Wow.
afraid to go swimming. You know what I'm saying, or whatever, whatever the case would be, right? Tell the whales sorry about that.
And some of those animals would be hilarious. Like some of those animals would be.
I mean, they're gonna think differently. You know what I'm saying? Like they're vastly more intelligent than us in certain areas, right? Navigation, you can't fly across the globe and fly back to the same tree
Right.
that you were born at and you hadn't been to since. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? You can be a turtle, hatch on the beach of Australia, circumnavigate the globe the next 30 years when you go back to that exact same spot to lay your egg 30 years later and you'd never been to before or since.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, so AI apparently will be able to crack the code of communicating with animals. Who knows how that'll actually occur? That's something that I think is hella cool that I don't hear or see enough people talking about. I want that to happen quick. Like that'll be really interesting to see take shape, right? It's science fiction stuff.
AKA Dr. Doolittle.
Yeah, there you go, man. Some Ace Ventura type.
Oh man, no, it's crazy. But you think about the story in the Bible of the Tower of Babel. I mean, I think that's where we're at with AI and
Okay.
technology.
So
And it's like how much if you're the creator of all this and you gave us everything that we needed. You really did. Like you look at I think it's the royal family. They own like a third of the world, property wise.
the Saudi royal family,
I'm sorry, the royal family.
the British royal family.
Yeah,
Okay.
Queen Elizabeth, like owns like 33 something crazy, 33% of it.
Colonial conquering empire. Yeah.
33% of all of the property that and then you go right back. I'm just going to keep going back full circle since you started us with the did you know. Uh, as much as the Indians were so much like how can I sell you land that doesn't belong to me? And that's the concept, but it's like we've taken that now and land ownership is, I mean, that's one of the most lucrative genres in the world is just
Unless it's commercial real estate, which is tanked since COVID because everybody's working from home.
back to my point. I don't need you.
Um,
And that's scary, man, because it's like I know one of the things, when I talk to my kids and kind of go back down memory lane and you ask yourself, man, if I could have done some things different or maybe if this was different or better or whatever, one of the things that I know that I was really lacking as a kid is that I didn't know about things to do when I became an adult. As far as occupations, I didn't know. Um,
true.
I just didn't know. Like I didn't know that. I figured I wasn't smart enough to be that thing they called a lawyer, or we didn't have the money for me to go to school like that. A doctor, come on, come on, come on, I don't be no doctor. But then it's like there was so many things, like even just being a freight broker. I didn't know anything about freight growing up.
Man, in high school, what is the biggest concern and thought that's in the mind of the parents and the high schoolers is what's your major going to be when you get to college?
Right.
That's the question you get. That's what you're supposed to be putting a lot of thought into. I don't ever recall being like, what is the sector of the economy that I want to take my talents to make an impact in by any means. I think, I don't even remember trying to think, hey, what is this major that I have to choose? What are the job options from it when I come
Right,
out? I
right.
mean, dude, you and I were both focused on something athletic.
Let me try that communications thing.
Yeah, there you go.
Right.
Luckily, it applies to sales. So that's helpful. And communication, just in general, is an art. It's something that you want to. Sales is what they should be teaching because sales is a skill that's just a life skill. It doesn't have to be a profession, but you're always doing something to try to negotiate, whether it's
And sell yourself.
so that I think should be put more focus on. But man, I don't know. I didn't even ever consider that stuff. I remember it wasn't even until my late 20s and where I needed to get serious because I knew I was starting a family. Where I was like, oh damn, what am I gonna do now? Right. And then I actually tried to get serious about sending out my resume somewhere.
And that's funny. Finding a job is a job in of itself. It really is. It's but I guess that's how it's supposed to be.
So, you were talking ancient history. You brought up the Bible. So the Bible has all kinds of things in there that people just dismiss as myth. Talks of giants, for one, right? So I like to go down this path a little bit when I'm just daydreaming about what if, because that's just one of my favorite things to do is to try to keep an open mind,
Right.
knowing that my whole the whole goal of anything I ever try to learn or listen to or research is I just don't have any pride of like current belief system of what I understand to be how we got to where we are today.
Right.
Like I don't have pride in that.
Right.
If someone comes in with a challenging argument that challenges whatever my current belief system is, and it's intriguing and it makes sense, then it's like, wow, damn, that's cool to consider. What if that's possible? What if that is how it actually occurs?
Which is why you're a cool person.
Well,
Yeah,
thank you, my friend. I wish more people were like that because it's when you get into belief systems, it's tricky territory. You might have a really good friendship that you don't want to challenge, but you also want to be like, dude, why aren't you considering this? thought here, and so here's one of them, right? The Graham Hancock theory, 12,000 years ago. We're at the end of the most recent ice age. Asteroids come across the sky, break apart, rip through the northern hemisphere, drop all kinds of asteroid fragments across Canada and across certain parts of Europe, which leads to a rapid melting of these ice sheets that are miles thick, right? These cataclysmic waves of water just wash through different continents, North America, Africa, Europe, etc., and just wash away entire civilizations, entire communities of people. Simultaneously, sea level rises rapidly because all of this water just melts instantly, basically over just like a 2-week period. Sea levels rise 400 feet. And it starts a recooling of the environment, which resets the globe for like the next 1,500 years. We can't just gloss over how long of a period of time that is. It's 1,500 years. It's a freaking long ass time. So the theory is here, and we're finding more and more evidence. If you just watch, I just skim headlines a lot of the time, but they're finding more and more evidence of evidence of modern day humans, not, our ancestors from a human standpoint, not the folks, not the, actual modern day humans from 100,000 years ago, 200,000 years ago. And if you look at what we've been able to accomplish in the last 300 years or the last 2,000 years, and how each generation of human tends to get a little bit taller. You know what I'm saying? Like, look, most kids these days, I see them in high school. Dude, these dudes are 6'2", 6'3", all like I'm looking up at them, and they're 15 years old, right? I'm 6'1". The thinking of ancient giants is not that far-fetched. It's truly not. Like, if you have hundreds of thousands of years where humans were developing and evolving and continuing to get a little bit taller each generation, why is it so far-fetched that there could have been 8, 9, 10-foot tall giants? I mean, dude, Victor Wembanyama's 7'5".
Well, and if he's 7'5", think about that. If he's 7'5" and the average guy is walking around at 3'7", how tall were these giants?
Yeah, no doubt. They have their 4.5 feet. Giants are 8 feet. But I mean, the skeletal remains in the early 1900s was apparently a widely regarded fact. It wasn't a disputed fact, right? Where you had historic giants and evidence of giants across North America was reported on. Shoot, if you're listening in, Google this stuff. To where it wasn't disputed until sometime after the early 1900s. Is like this. Supposedly the conspiracy theory is here that the Smithsonian started to go through and gobble up all the evidence and, confiscate things or whatever the case is. Who knows, man? I don't know.
Right.
What I'm just trying to say is, like, in the Bible, they talk about giants. And we just disregard it as like myth, right? It's like, oh, that's just a tale of some sort that I don't believe, even though so many people put their entire faith system and what they base their life and their identity on based on what's inside of that book. But inside of that book is something that they can just also easily dismiss. I don't know.
As you talk about that, I'm thinking about the book of Enoch. I'm thinking about the book of Genesis. Enoch is not he's talked about in the book of Genesis, but the book of Enoch is not canonized to be in the Bible. Read both.
I think Billy Carson is another dude. I think we've mentioned. Yeah, he's got a lot on the book of Enoch.
Oh, dude,
right?
dude. So a lot of people who I'm like-minded with in terms of the book of Enoch, for the same reason I think people dismiss giants, is the same reason why people dismiss the book of Enoch, and why some people dismiss that it literally says there were giants in the Bible, is because if you know about the Billy Carson has a very interesting.
I love Billy Carson, man.
Dude.
Whether or not you believe him, he's like a sci-fi pastor.
Oh, listen,
this dude will preach on stuff that
things on my
blows
brain,
your
dude.
mind, right?
Yeah, like I'm like, okay, and he puts it in such a way, whether you agree with it or not, it's like,
He's sitting up here like, hey, man, this is what happened. The ancient Sumerians tweaked our DNA, monitored some different chromosomes,
Boom.
totally decreased your lifespan
Boom.
200,000 years ago. Man, that's what happened. Next topic.
Well, and he's not. He even according to the Bible, if you think that's all far fetched,
Yeah.
even the Bible, they tell you guys live to be Methuselah.
700, 800. Noah was like 700 years
And
old.
then people will say, "Oh, well, that's because they just considered the summertime a year." And it's like, okay, what? However you
Translation discrepancies.
And I think the reason why people dismiss things like that, D, is because to accept those things, you have to accept that on this planet, during its longevity, its tenure of existence, you have to acknowledge the fact that there were, and probably still are, what you would simply identify as aliens that have visited this country. And you have to accept that there's been something unearthly that has come here and has not only just come here, but has left its mark on human civilization, but weren't born of this earth.
I'm totally okay with that.
But people don't want to accept that because
No.
then you get to your atheists, and you know I have a good time with atheists because the first thing they say is, "Oh, I don't believe in God." Well, if you take the time to say you don't believe in something, you're still acknowledging it. You feel me? Whether you're going down the path of religion and all that.
We should. I don't know any atheists or people that are atheists. I just don't know if they
You're
are
looking
or not.
at somebody at one point in
Yeah.
time when baseball ended for me. You know,
Okay.
it wasn't that I stopped believing that there was a God,
Right.
but I thought the whole religion aspect had let me down.
Oh, okay.
The
Okay.
religion aspect. And the beautiful thing about that statement is that I had to come to the realization that in terms of my walk with God, not religion, in terms of my walk with God, I strayed away.
Huh.
And then expected the good karma to come back to me.
Okay. All right.
You feel me? So like it's
So if you stray, the good vibes you once had that brought the good karma, internally inside of your thinking that you've strayed. So you got some bad vibes attracting some bad karma.
well, not even so much that bad things. It's
Yeah.
the appreciation of every step of the journey. Like you can't, not to get all proverbial here, but you can't really.
I don't think I've ever used that word before, but I like
Proverbs.
it. Proverbial.
Yeah.
Maybe I have. Okay. In this context, though.
Yeah, it's Proverbs thinking. Like you read the book of Proverbs, it just tells you certain things that just make sense. Like you really can't enjoy joy if you don't know what pain is. You just can't. You can't.
You got to have a contrast.
You got to. You have, and not just a contrast. You have to appreciate each one. And so when I say I strayed, I was not appreciative of the idea that, back to baseball, and you'll appreciate this. 5 years ago, I was in high school not knowing which college I was going to. There were times in college where things weren't going well for me in California and in Kansas, and I didn't know how I was going to make it through. I get to pro ball, and instead of enjoying that fact that I actually made it,
okay.
it was like a disappointment that I didn't make it farther.
All the way. Yeah. What is happiness is the margin between expectation and reality. Something like that.
So from that standpoint, I strayed.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
You see what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, but you're also always looking up.
Yeah.
Right? When you're always looking up and you don't pause to turn around and look at the mountain that you've climbed so far,
right,
and enjoy that view.
Right.
If you're always looking up, you're going to miss the view that you've already created for yourself as well.
Right. That's right. So in that essence, I strayed.
Okay.
And so when I found out, I didn't know how to vocalize it or internalize it, but when I found that out for myself, life began to get better for me immediately.
All right.
Because I realized, like, hey, okay, you're single right now, right? Enjoy being single. The wife will come, the stuff will come, but it'll come when it needs to come to you. Because how many times have you seen people get, quote unquote, blessed with things, and that blessing that we think on the outside it was a blessing ends up being that person's demise? lottery winners. You hear about lottery winners all the time.
No doubt.
They got a girl when I get this, I'm gonna blows my brain. I blew my brains out because all of a sudden I found out that my husband didn't really love me, or just people turn their back on you, or all they associate you with is money. But you got that blessing, so to say.
Yep.
And so, what's that country song? Sometimes God's greatest gift is unanswered prayers.
So there's one rule of this podcast: it's no country song references.
Shout out to my country folks.
No doubt. No, I mean, I've always found interesting the lottery stories, man. The influx of cash in a short period of time on people who just aren't equipped to handle the pressures and the changing of relationships that go along with that.
Oof.
That's why I love thinking about if I ever did actually somehow win the lottery, and you got to be super careful depending on what state you're in. Can you remain anonymous? And if you can, that's absolutely the route you should go. And I don't think I would tell anybody. I wouldn't even tell my family for a while. Mm-hmm. You know, like I would let it sink in. Mm-hmm. There would be signs, though. There would be signs. It'd be like, did you just pick up your son from practice in a hovercraft? Like, was that shit a hovercraft for real?
Did you just really say that to your boss?
Of course I did. Like, are you watching the game today from your helicopter? Is that you up there? So there would be signs that maybe I'm the lottery winner that everybody's trying to figure out, but I wouldn't tell anybody.
No, I wouldn't either. And actually, I hope that I am challenged with this challenge.
Yeah, it'd be a good problem to have.
I would still work.
Shut up. What would you work on?
What did you ask me about my new career, man?
I love. All right, if you really enjoy it, my work friends and the people I work with would never hear from me ever again. They'd be like, "Man, we don't know what happened to him. Where did Christian go?"
Everything I would do in life, it would be done out of I want to do that. That I think we can agree on. Man, one thing I'm super jealous of. Have you seen? I forget the name of the documentary, but it's the Dr. Dre, Jimmy Levine, Eminem documentary. It's like 7 or 8 episodes. It is fantastic. I watched it in one binge sitting from a hotel in Omaha when I was traveling there for work. Sat down like 8 o'clock, watched an episode. It was 3 a.m. before I finished, and I was hooked. But the one piece in there I was super jealous of was Dr. Dre saying, "I don't base my decisions on what I'm thinking. I base all of my decisions on what I feel like doing right now." And he was just like, and he meant it. He's like, if I don't feel like it, I don't do it, or something like that. And I was like, what? And then he expanded on it for a moment. And I was like, man, that's a total flip of like, because rarely do I actually get to do what I feel like doing. And it's just a total different reality that dude lives in. Of course. I mean, he's if not already close to a billionaire. I mean, they live in a different reality. But that was cool. I mean, I would love to do what I feel like doing.
Yeah, it's not like what's going on. Do I feel like it? Like actually analyze your feelings before you make a decision on what you're going to do next. You know what I'm saying? That's a different concept.
That's deep.
Yeah, I mean, occasionally you got a couple of days or a half a weekend, or maybe you get a little tease on a vacation for a week where you kind of feel, but you're also pressured because this is your 1 week where you have a little taste of that freedom. Right?
That still ain't shit.
Hey, man, this has been a good podcast.
Yes, it has, man.